Alright, welcome back guys to another episode on the Sleepers Decay YouTube channel. If you want to like and subscribe, check out my past videos. We did a 5.3 LS swap on our 91 Z28 Camaro here. In this episode, it's going to be two parts. I'm going to cover idle air control and setting idle up on a Holley Sniper EFI because I am running a Holley Sniper. I've been having some issues with some hot starts. For some reason, I don't have any problems with the car starting every time, but for some reason I'm having issues with, even after the car's warm, you crank it over and it likes to flare the idle all the way up for 1 to 2, 3 seconds and then slowly brings it back down. Almost acts like it's starting like it's cold every time. So I'm going to cover setting your initial idle for the idle air control and the idle screw on the Sniper, and then I'm probably going to get into the touchscreen monitor and look at some of the parameters there to make sure everything's set. But anytime you're messing with idle on these cars, before you get into the touchscreen and start messing with the graphs and all that, it's always best to go back and make sure that nothing changed with your idle screw and all that, so you have a good baseline to work off of. Second part of this video is going to be, I'm getting rid of the exhaust on it. The car has headers 2-into-1 back into a Flowmaster kit on the back of the car. It sounds really good, I like it, but for drag racing, it's dead weight, we don't need it. And also, I've been winning awards for the quietest car at the racetrack, so I'm going to be doing a 2-into-1. I went and picked up this $7 jobby right here from the parts store. So after the exhaust splits from the headers, it goes 2-into-1 to a single 3-inch pipe, and we're going to go back and do a single axle dump right on the back of the car. So for the first time ever, I'm going to get to hear this engine run with straight pipe, 5.3 with a Texas speed cam in it, and just because I think it's cool, my idle setting's right around like 750, so it's got a nice lope to it, just because it's fun to listen to. So anyways, let's get to the action. So we got the book out right here that pretty much explains exactly what you need to do, and I'm pretty sure you can find all this online, so if you want to look this up, basically what we're doing here, and I'm going to try and explain this as simple as possible. The advantages of having EFI is this has an idle air control. Basically, there is a valve, if you will, that opens and closes that allows more or less air at idle to accomplish the idle setting that you have preset in your touchscreen monitor in the car. So what you do is you set your wizard where you want it for your idle setting, and there's two ways of doing it. The way that the book says to do it is essentially you're just going to set the idle screw until your actual RPM based on your monitor matches your RPM that you have set for your idle. And you need the idle air control to be somewhere in the 2 to 5% range on the monitor. Another way of doing this is you could put a little piece of tape blocking this hole. So basically you're eliminating the idle air control, and then you adjust your screw here down on the throttle linkages until you get the actual RPM to match the RPM in the wizard. Once you get those settings close enough, then that idle air control can go in and open and close accordingly to match those idle settings. But anyways, let's try it out. One other thing worth mentioning, and I should have started with this, is that you don't make any adjustments until the car is at least up to 160 degrees by the coolant temperature. So you can't properly adjust it until you are at operating temperature. Otherwise, it simply won't work. You can make all your settings, and then once the car gets to operating temperature, all those settings are going to go out the window. They're not going to matter. So make sure the car's warmed up before you do this. So in the book it tells you one of the things that's important, you want to make sure your TPS is reading 0, which it always should because it always resets after every start. Down here in the corner, and this is one of the monitors I have pulled up, IAC position percent 86, which it does that for startup. So once we actually start the car, see that drop down? It's in cold start mode too. Alright, you can see we're well above operating temperature, and our idle air control is right about 15% there. Our throttle position says 0. Actually, this continues to drop a little bit, so I'm going to wait a little bit and see what it does. So we want this to be somewhere between the like 2 to 5% at idle. Alright, you can see how low we dropped. Actually, at one point it was hitting 0, which means it was completely closed and my throttle blades were open too far, allowing more air to go through, and the idle air control was completely closing, trying to stop that air, because it was still trying to lower my RPM down. Now this is a little difficult because you can see the RPM range that I'm bouncing in. It's because the cam in this car, it's really difficult to get a smooth idle, but I gave it like an 1/8 of a turn, and I got this to float around that 1 to 4 to, you can see what it's doing there. So I'm gonna go ahead and call that good. This is the screw I'm talking about right here. And this guy, all I did was just gave it a little bump in, opening up the throttle blades, because ideally you want the car to idle off of the air and fuel coming in from the port. The idle air control is there to just help it. Obviously, if your blades are closed too far, that idle air control is going to have to work extra hard to supplement air going into it to get your correct idle setting. And if it's too low, obviously it can't close anymore, and the car is trying to pull fuel, do whatever to lower your idle setting, but the blades are stuck open at a preset setting with your idle screw and can't stop the flow of air coming in, so therefore the car just fights itself. Probably not the biggest deal, and as I said, this car's got a pretty good sized cam in it, so it's going to be a little difficult to get it perfect, but I'm right there in the 1 to 4 range, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone. I'm going to go into the wizard and see if I can't figure out that idle air control, that idle issue I'm having once it's warm. So essentially what it's doing, like when it's up to temperature, I'll be sitting in the staging lanes at the track and I go to start the car, and usually you fire it up and you want to bang it into gear right away, and obviously park, reverse, neutral. Well, you fire it up and the car like flares. It almost goes up to like 2,000 RPM before it idles back down. And if you go too quick, it bangs it in reverse real hard, and quite frankly looks kind of dumb when you're sitting in the staging lanes. Everyone looks over because your car's doing this flare thing. It always comes back down. It's never a problem. So I'm certain it's not an issue with the Sniper itself. It's just something in my settings. So let's go to tuning, advanced idle. 65 to 100% parked. Startup hold time. It's definitely not 8 seconds. Alright, that's not what I meant to click on. Let's go to hold time. Let's knock this down to 3. We're basically, I mean, everything was at 4 seconds, so if we need to go back and switch stuff back, we can do that. But let's go back to 3, and let's take our, no, stop it. This way. And we're going to knock this down to 2.3. Save. Alright. Now I think you got to cycle the key every time you do this, which my key is just a switch. Let's see what it does now. I felt like that was better. That seemed like it was better. Let's go in and knock it down some more. Tuning, advanced idle, startup. Let's knock this hold time down to like 1 second. And we'll knock the decay down to 1.5. 1.6, okay. Save it, and we'll cycle the key. Yeah, that's what we wanted. I'm happy with that. So that's what it was. Hopefully it still does that when it's cold out, but I'm pretty sure once the car is under temperature, it's a whole different setting. So that's why I love this thing, guys. It's that simple just to go in and adjust things and make them different. Just get a notepad and write down what you did, so that way you know what it was and what it is now. I'm gonna go do that right now. Then we're gonna let the car cool off and start cutting exhaust off. Alright, so we're onto the car now. I'll let her cool off a little bit. So the gist of what I'm going to do here is, you can see there's a hanger right there that's not in use. So what I'm going to do is cut it right there below that hanger, and that's where this piece is just going to slide right over. And then I've got a U-bolt style clamp that'll go up and grab that hanger to hold up the back end of the exhaust, and then everything that way is going to be gone. And what's super nice is I already got a V-band right there, which I'd like to put one here, but that'll make taking it out super easy. And then all of that back there, that nice Flowmaster kit, is all going to be gone. So we're just going to be turn out, turn down. I don't know how I'm going to put it. I'll probably just put it straight down, and that's all that's going to be on it. And then it'll just be straight pipe. So it's Speed Engineering headers, which I think are 3-inch, and then they actually knock down to 2.5-inch pipes, and then 2 into 1 back up to 3, and then it'll be just dumped. So she's gonna be loud. But I'm gonna get the Sawzall going here, and then we'll tear the rest of that off, and then we'll fire it up and see what she sounds like. Alright, that was pretty easy. Probably took 20 minutes. Flowmaster kit for 3rd gen Camaro is removed. And I kid you not, 40 pounds. Everything's bolted up. I didn't have to cut anything else, so still a good kit. I can always throw it back on. The other thing I was gonna notate, one of my 4th of July party tricks ended up being pretty good sized burnout. Mickey Thompson ET Streets, just so you're warned, like a 7-second burnout with these things, they melt and they turn to goo. And I can prove it, because that is not all burnout. That is a 7-second burnout that tracked rubber all the way into my garage and took the paint off the floor with it. So, all right, that's the new setup. 2 into 1. Here's a rear shot of it. Kind of cool, I guess. Well, let's fire it up and see what it sounds like. Well, needless to say, the car just became a little bit less street legal. Anyways, guys, I don't really think it sounds all that great. At idle, it sounds pretty good, but it's got, I mean, it definitely sounds like a 5.3 now. You know, when you see all them 5.3 straight pipe videos, I now have one. But either way, we lost 40 pounds, and I don't hardly drive it on the street anyways, and I can always bolt the kit right back on. So anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Be sure and like, subscribe, leave a comment down below with any questions, comments, concerns about what we did today. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching. Dadgummit, stay good. We'll see you later.